Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of the Wrestling Underground podcast. I am your host, as always, Chad. Joining me is the glorious one himself, Marcus. Marcus, how the heck are
Good, man. Another week of TNA fan court.
you? Pretty much. I'm watching both NXT and NWA as we record the shows, as I tend to try to do every week. And there's a part of it that feels like I need to watch NWA with the sound on because Mike Mondo is yelling at two dudes, I think, in a retro video game resale store, and I want to know what the connection is between Mike Mondo, the former Mikey of the Spirit Squad, and these retro ass video games because like that's hilarious to me. We have quite a heavy list of things to talk about today, um, both in terms of quantity and in one regard seriousness. We have to talk about Masha Slammovich. We held off on doing it last week because it was so fresh and so new. But now I feel like we have to address, the elephant in the room being Masha. Um, I'm not going to go into the exact specificness. You're going to have to go out and look for it on your own. But here's the too long didn't read of it all. Or don't read of it all. Masha was accused by former MLW wrestler Akira of domestic violence. Now, he didn't directly accuse her. A friend of Akira released information, um, basically pointing the finger at Masha for domestic violence. The text release did not paint Masha in a good light by any means. It made her seem downright deranged, even at one point saying that the only reason, or I shouldn't say the only reason, one of the reasons why she was interested in Akira was she thought it would help her career. And she wanted him to become a bigger deal so she could, benefit off of that. There was also a moment in the text messages where Akira said, you hit me, and she said, you made me, essentially, by upsetting her. Those are, I think, the two biggest takeaways, but there's a lot of emotional abuse from Masha to Akira. And at one point, Akira even said that when he was in Japan, I think at the start of the year, he was contemplating suicide because of the dynamics between him and Masha had become so toxic. Um, Akira has eventually released a statement basically saying, I'm not naming names, but I'm not saying it didn't happen. Masha then came out with a statement saying that this was a mutually destructive, mutually abusive relationship, and she apologizes for anything that may have happened for it. The only problem is we've not seen anything from Akira's side to paint him or Masha to Akira to paint him as a fellow abuser. It seemed like, just from all intents and purposes, that Masha was in fact abusing Akira. Um, we don't know for sure. She has not denied that these are fake, though. And if these aren't fake, that would confirm that she did, in fact, abuse him to some degree. Apparently, he also had, doubts about his gender identity and what have you. And Masha was not receptive to him having concerns. Now, listen, you don't need to stay with someone that you don't align with, right? You can say, listen, I respect you, I care about you, I love you. We are no longer heading in the same direction. So I think it's healthy and the best for both of us if we went our separate ways as a couple and tried to find a way back to a place of friendship. That would have been fine. No one would have said anything. No, okay. Masha insults him and demeans him and puts him down. And it's truly awful, the things she was saying to him. This, I gotta think, ends her career. She was pulled from TNA's Victory Road event this past Sunday, or I'm sorry, this past Friday. There's been no announcements about her being involved in any way, shape, or form for Bound for Glory. TNA has already told, I think it's Justin Barrasso, Sports Illustrated, that they are launching a full investigation. And I have to assume that with the allegations with the text messages and basically Masha's, inability or lack of ability to deny the allegations against her. I think it pretty much opens and shuts the case on this one. And if these end up being true, and she doesn't have anything to really defend herself on, which I have not seen, um, I think we've seen the last of not only Masha in TNA but in wrestling. Now that being said, there's another story brewing underneath this that I can't get into yet. I have some friends in the industry. I always seem to keep a pulse on someone. And there's a story that's, I don't know if it's as bad, but it's not good. I would say, let's just say if abusing your partner is a number eight, right? I would say this is either a fellow eight or at least a seven. Now, I can't get into the specifics of it, but it's already been alluded to by multiple people. Um, it does not paint her in a good light, and I can tell you about it off air. I trust you not to say anything, but like until someone else says something, I don't feel like it's my place to bring this up yet. So let's just say that people have known about Masha's issues for a while, and it's not going to help her defense on her being a bad person. So I think Masha's done. I think Masha's done in TNA. I think she's done in wrestling. I don't know how you come back from this. This is bad. This is Joey Ryan, Michael Elgin's levels of bad, if not worse. So like, I think she's done. Marcus, thoughts?
Yeah, just because I was unaware of all this until it was brought to my attention by you on the last show. But for all intents and purposes, just from the stuff that we received, it would seem that she was in a position of abuse and he was in a position of being an enabler, um, which really certainly did him no favors with the state of mind it appeared that he was in at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, or certainly bad both ways, but just from the vantage point of the angle that we got, there was no defense for certainly his tone and demeanor in which he took with him in those text messages. So um, just a bad situation all around. You hate this kind of stuff, but that's really what the I mean, we got bombarded with this with the speaking out movement. And I brought it up last show that oftentimes we don't see the situations or the scenarios when it's the male being on the abuse side of things. So that's an added wrinkle to this. Not that there's any good wrinkles here, but yeah, it's stuck. You know, just on a human level. Certainly, you never want to hear this stuff. As far as being a fan, Marsha's certainly obviously we talk about one of the best wrestlers in the company, even though uh over this past year it's been real shaky with the way she's kind of been presented and whatnot, really not being the star felt like she was at one point. But yeah, I mean we've seen people taken off the shelf or put on the shelf permanently for less in a lot of scenarios. When we were talking about this and kind of brought up the speaking out movement, one name that came to mind that just feels like they kind of faded into the ether that you're familiar with as well as Marty Skrull.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, definitely one of those names that did not survive. I think that speaking out movement, and obviously this was going to continue because a lot of people were rightfully so emboldened and brazen and outing a lot of these certainly toxic, deeply toxic individuals across the industry. But yeah, with their relationship with WWE and obviously I would imagine still talks and goals. I would imagine around getting a TV deal. They can't afford to have any blemishes. So hopefully, whatever investigation they do is thorough. Um, one quick question though. Do you think, well, obviously because of what he said, um, this is one of those scenarios where it feels like the person didn't directly come out and put it out themselves. A friend kind of did it for them in this regard. Um, don't feel like he was necessary. Do you think he was blindsided by this whole thing, or think
I
it
ho-
was talk
I
behind the scenes?
hope not. I really do hope not. But it does seem like he didn't know it was happening at the very least. That he didn't know it was happening when it happened. Now, to
Mm,
be fair, there might have been a element because, like, oftentimes with abuse, you'll see the individual who's being abused will stick around. They'll constantly go back, and sometimes it can be just painful to watch it happen time and time again. So it might have been a situation where Akira was either letting her off the hook or was going to do more for her or something else, and the friend just basically said like you're gonna get yourself and killed essentially, and I don't want to see that happen. So like if you go back to her, I'm gonna have to tell people what's going on, and if that's essentially what happened, which seems likely. um I have to imagine that this was done out of necessity to try to get him from,
yeah,
you know, falling back into bad habits. That's what it feels like. I could be
yeah,
wrong, but it feels like someone's like, listen, you keep doing this to yourself. If you keep doing this, I'm going to have to, do something to protect you. And that's how it feels. I could be wrong, but, we'll see.
yeah,
I just hope Akira's getting the help and attention he needs to recover from this. And frankly,
yeah.
Masha, assuming this is all true, because like we only have one side of the story, but we have a lot of people not saying it's not true who are involved with it. Assuming it's all true, I hope Masha fucks off forever. I don't ever want to see her again because you can be unhappy in a relationship and opt to end it. And I feel like if you're unhappy in a relationship and you want to be mature about it, you tell the person you're with, hey, I'm not happy. I want to end things and I want to go our separate ways because I don't feel like we're in a good, stable environment anymore. Or I just don't feel the same about you as I used to. Like whatever it is. You don't get to abuse and manipulate someone because they stick around. And I have a sensitive spot for that kind of situation. So I extra think Masha needs to fuck off. If this is all one big misunderstanding, which I doubt it is, sure, I'm open to being, convinced otherwise that she deserves a second chance, but I don't think she does. I think everyone is better off just moving on and forgetting about Masha. That's my
Mm.
that's my belief. But with that said, we're going off to Victory Road. We got to start with some more bad news because we can't just have one individual having a bad week. Uh, it came out at the start of the show that um, Ash by Elegance, the former Dana Brooke, is officially, as it stands right now, no longer able to wrestle for whatever reason. She has relinquished the NXT title. I'm sorry, the TNA title. Although at this point, is there really a difference? She's relinquished the TNA Knockouts Championship, and we'll get to who the new champion is later. And it seems like, for all intents and purposes, she's done in wrestling. She might be done momentarily. She might be done, for some time. We don't know. What we do know is that as of right now, Ash by Elegance has stepped away from TNA and from wrestling as a whole. And, there's obviously something wrong. You don't just do it because you're bored, right? You don't walk away from the biggest show of the year that you're gonna have a major spot on and go, you know what? I want to go kayaking that weekend, so I'm gonna just let this go. She has fought so hard to reimagine herself and develop herself, and I don't think she's, you know, I'm not gonna sit here and do do the thing that we always do where we you know think better of people when something like this happens. Certain events have made bad people into martyrs, and I don't want to sit here and make it seem like because she had to relinquish the belt that she was somehow this genuine talent. I don't think TNA is gonna miss her character or her wrestling. I never thought she was a great wrestler. I wouldn't even say she was a good wrestler. But it sucks on a human level to ever see anyone walk away, especially against their own will. It's really hard for me to look at this and not have some sympathy for her because she did all she could, reinvent herself, become
Yeah,
more important. I don't think it worked, but she put in a lot of work. She tried more than
yeah,
a lot of people can say. So it sucks that Ash is done. Any thoughts on Ash?
yeah, yeah, man. I'm right there with you, bro. Like, she uh ain't setting the world on fire by any means as a straight up and down talent, but the work ethic that she put in, the time that she put in since she came to TNA, it can't be debated. She's been one of their most consistent performers on whatever they asked her to do and any spot they asked her to be in. Segments on top of segments, a lot of mic time. She's been putting in the work to kind of dust off the Dana Brooke dust of it all and really embrace this ass by elegance gimmick and do everything she could. And it really does suck on a human level, like you said, just for whatever may be going on with her from a health perspective, whatever is going on. Um, we certainly wish her well with that. But just from a professional standpoint, like that's really the crown of her career, winning that Knockouts title, and she can't even really enjoy it because as soon as she turns around, you know, unfortunate life events, it has it taken away from her. But it's cool that it happened at all. Like you said, most people don't put in that type of time when they actually are touted to be some type of super talent. Um, and she did, and it paid off. So at least she does have that. She's forever going to be remembered as a knockout champion, and which is more than most people get. And yeah, I commend her for her work ethic, man, because she really was one of the most reliable and consistent names over this past year and a half. Certainly, whenever she came in, she really has been, one of the people that they could depend on, whether we, was rooting in the stands or not. Like I said, that work ethic can't be denied. I just hope whatever is going on with her personally, it gets squared away in a way that she comes out on the other side of it good, whether she returns to the ring or not.
That set up a battle royal. Uh, Lily La Pesquita Ruiz. She was a former NWA talent. Took on Jody Threat, Zaya Brookshire, Danny Luna, M. by Elegance, Cassie Lee, Jessie McKay, and Heather by Elegance, with also Kalani Jordan and Zaya Lee Ying Lee being involved in this battle royal as well. Lee Ying Lee and Kalani Jordan end up winning. They're the ones who will end up going to face off with one another to crown a new champion. Um, but here we go. We also had a six-man match with Eddie, Brian, Myers, and JDC taking on Agent Zero, Jason Hutch, and John Schuyler. It was kind of a short match. They had to do a lot of shuffling, but all things until it was fine. Let's see. Then we go to the tag match. It's Matt Cardona and the Hometown Man, Cody Dean, are taking on the Nemeth brothers. Cardona and Hometown Man get the win. But you could argue that the Zigglers, Nick and Ryan Nemeth, uh, probably won the night. We'll see if Cardona ends up doing something with Ziggler at Bound for Glory. It seems like that's the way they're going. And considering how big of a names they are, and the fact that the Nemeths aren't involved in the tag team title picture, and Cardona's not involved in the System and Order 4 match, you would imagine that maybe Cardona is going to have a tag match with the Nemesis for a shot at the tag team titles, but we'll see what ends up happening there. Rich Holland had what many people call it was probably the best match of his career with Mike Santana. It's hard to argue that
Mm,
Holland isn't exactly a great wrestler, but Santana can bring out some guys, and I think he brought out Ridge to the best visibilities. Solid outing.
yeah,
Nothing I'd write home about though. Trick Williams ends up costing Santana the match in the end. Earlier in the night, Matt Hardy and AJ Francis had a little conversation. AJ beat up Matt. Matt challenged AJ to a tables match later tonight. We'll get to that here in a second. Moose took on Mustafa Ali. Winner gets the advantage in their 5-on-5 at Bound for Glory in their hardcore war. Shocker, the heels won. The heels always win when it's a situation like this. I
yeah,
think I think the
yeah,
faces win this kind of thing, every once in a while.
yeah.
So
It goes the heels lead, and then the faces end up fighting back in the end. The Big Show.
yeah, heels lead, faces follow, essentially. It was a good match though.
Yeah,
I don't find Mustafa to be overly fun to watch. I will say though, he never has a bad match. I think if
right.
he was less integral to the week to week stories, I'd be more invested in Mustafa. But like, he's not a great promo. He's not very charismatic, and he only has so much to offer as an individual. And I just don't find him to be all that engaging. But Moose does benefit from guys like him. Unfortunately, one of Moose's best matches was a Twitch TV special where he took on Alberto El Patron in a really fantastic match. Now, El Patron is a garbage human being, but Moose does well in
Yeah,
these scenarios, so it was good to see him have another quality match. But Mustafa's really phenomenal in the ring. Like, he's good. He's very good.
yeah. Mhm.
That takes us to Eric Young versus Joe Hendry. The way they're kind of touting this match, it felt like Joe Hendry was saying goodbye to TNA. There was some, sorry, NXT's back on, and I'm just looking at all the TNA talent, and they're all just NXT people. What the fuck are we doing
Yeah,
here?
that's the sad irony in the whole thing, and they're running a picture by picture as the most important segment of the show is happening. Um, of course, it starts when TNA starts to heavy on the quotations invade. Uh, I'm just looking at Mars Sade. I'm like, she was just there, bro.
Yeah, 2 weeks
She
ago you'd be on
just
the other
got
side.
released. Yeah, dude. I'm like, this whole thing is this whole thing is a Big Show skit.
It,
Like,
it really is. I, I
TNA has only one two name in there, and that's Santana.
well, you got
Uh,
Santana, you got Leon, and I saw Mance Warner. Here's the thing, though.
yeah.
I feel like that
And
one
see,
scene from Mean Girls. You don't even go here.
oh yeah, bro.
So
Oh,
anyway, Joe Hendry beats Eric Young in what could be Joe Hendry's last match in TNA. We know he's leaving. And his Wikipedia page even says he is signed to the WWE while also making appearances for partner promotion TNA.
oh.
Yeah.
I called it last week. This is like watch like somebody cheating in a relationship, and this is the phase of the cheating where the couple gets really sloppy and they don't care if they get caught or not.
Yeah.
This is what this is.
Yeah, because you know that they're already getting half of the stuff in
Mm,
the settlement. So like they don't need to hide it anymore.
exactly.
Um I hope that they can get one more match out of them at Bound for Glory where we can put somebody over like Jake something. But we'll see. Judas Icarus and Travis Williams helped Joe beat Eric in a pretty ho hum match. Here's the thing: Joe Hendry has to be protected. He's not Will Ospreay. He's not Speedball. He's not Josh Alexander. He's not so good that you can put him out there with anyone and not run into issues. Joe Hendry is a mediocre in ring competitor, which is fine. A lot of my favorites, we talked about one last week, Mr. Anderson. A lot of my favorites are mediocre in the ring. They're fine. I don't know if NXT can use Joe Hendry properly without basically making him Ron Killings 2.0, which they're basically already doing. So we'll see. So
Do,
far, it
do
looks
you
like the four names are going to be Leon Slater, Frankie Kazarian, Moose, and Mike Santana, which is truly the most TNA foursome you could find.
think
Unfortunately,
about it? Yeah.
unfortunately, the team captain for the Knockouts is an NXT wrestler. What the fuck are we doing?
Oh,
Listen,
this
Kalani Jordan's fine. I'm not impressed with her. She's better. Who is this? Tatum Fallon Hex. Like, they all have the same fucking name. What's this bitch's name? JC Jane. Oh,
uh, JC Assless Jane. Yeah.
JC Jane is gonna lead the NXT, and then Kalani Jordan, who's also NXT, is gonna lead TNA, and it makes no fucking sense. It makes zero fucking sense.
You know what's even funny about that? She literally said that in the opening segment about her being on their team. I hated that I had to agree with that girl, but the fact that they called that out in a promo just makes this even goofier.
Now, listen, I will say this. I do not like NXT's current developmental of how they just find athletes and turn them into wrestlers because, like, there's limitations to that. We're seeing a bunch of them already leave because of it. Sol Roca, I think, has real potential because she's unique. She has a vibe to her. Her finisher is going to ruin her career. She does that inverted stunner off the top rope where she jumps and does a flip and then grabs the guy. You're going to fuck your spine up in your hips. Like, you're going to. I'm not saying that this could happen. I'm saying this will happen. You need a new finisher, girl. Otherwise, I think she's great. She's the only
Yeah,
one on
real quick.
NXT right now that I actually like.
Yeah, real quick. Of all these women you're looking at on screen, outside of Jordan, because we already know she's the peak of any mountain. Um, where is your girl? Does she rank above all these other people? Because they keep her in the background for whatever reason. Now well, I'm about to call her Thefla, the Hawking girl that they put with Soul Rooker with the red hair and the mohawk.
Oh, Delta. I don't know what her NXT
Yeah,
name is. Delta's dope. Delta, Thekla, Stephanie Vaquer, and Julia are probably four of the best international talents in the world. So the fact that we're sitting here watching her basically reduced to a second and not her own thing, especially when you have lacklusters like JC Jane, Jada Parker, Kalani Jordan dominating the headlines, yeah, it's not great. Right.
yeah, they got to take that speed title and trash. I don't know who came up with that idea, but she's literally defended that title more than her North American title. But what are you gonna do now? Who's she gonna be picking?
So she picked the
Inspiration.
inspiration and Mara Sade, I guess. So I guess we're just doing WWE versus WWE in the women's division. Marcus, if I had the money and I bought TNA, I would fire all of these NXT WWE talents so fucking fast.
I already know. I already know. That might be our next show. If there was like, if this was actually booked properly, and they did like a TNA versus NXT thing, and we'll do it like that episode of like the '90s Spider-Man where he got to pick everybody out of the Marvel universe for his squad.
Oh yeah, that was a good episode. That was a good two-parter because you
Yeah,
picked like Captain
we should
America,
do that.
Iron Man, or well, no, it was Captain American like War Machine. That was dope.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we'll
Maybe
get
maybe
to
we
it
could do
later.
that. Yeah.
We'll get to it here in a little bit. I will just say this. One of the issues I had with last week was there was a brawl and it lasted for all of 15 seconds, and then we had to focus on Obafemi and Ricky Starks. This week, however, they're doing the brawl properly. Everyone's throwing down. Now, granted, is it like 85% WWE NXT or ex WWE NXT talent? Yeah, it is. Is it at least an attempt to make up for the shitty ending from last week. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. So I appreciate that.
Yeah. Yeah. Real quick, do you think um obviously we've seen him on the main route. I don't even want to reference what he did on the main route because it was getting bitched out by Randy Orton. But do you think NXT will be Hendry's ceiling under the WWE umbrella, especially with what they have him doing there?
What do you mean?
Like, do you think that's where his ceiling is in WWE when he goes there? Like, do you think they cap him off in NXT and they just make him like a pop up character? Do you think he can actually transition from NXT to the main roster and actually be some form of a big deal outside of his theme song and them having him pop up like some type of skit character?
Well, my honest reaction is, yeah, he'll make it to the main roster, but it'll be doing the pop up stuff. I do believe
Yeah,
he'll just be the new Ron Killings. You know, Ron's 50 now. Eventually, they're gonna have to move on from
yeah,
him, and I could see them doing something where Joe Hendry becomes the new pop up character. But that'll only last for as long as people want him to, and then after that, what do you do?
yeah,
So I do think there's a limit to what they're willing to do, because they've already shown us, right? They've already shown us that they don't take him seriously. He got squashed by Randy Orton. Like we know he's not being groomed to be someone worth watching. Like we know that. So I don't really think there's much you can do with him beyond what they're already doing with him. So unfortunately, his best days are behind him. But hey, he wants that check, and you know he wants to be part of the WWE machine. So God bless him.
yeah.
As as far as Victory Road
Referencing back
goes,
to that match,
yes,
yeah, referencing back to that match of Victory Road. Do you keep you booking it? Do you keep using Eric Young? Because I seen his interest and I kept referencing him as like a random Sons of Anarchy villain for season throwaway. I almost feel like I insulted the show at this point. You booking it? Do you keep using him in an in ring capacity to bolster up names like a an exiting talent like a Hendry or maybe somebody like Jake something who you just referenced?
I don't know because so here's the thing. Eric is Eric was Joe Hendry. Before it was say his name and I appear, I believe in Joe Hendry. Before all that, it was Don't Fire
Yeah,
Eric. It was Super Eric. It was the beard. It was all the nonsense that came along with it. Eric Young was never a great wrestler. He's certainly not a great promo. He's respected, and there's something to say about that. But also, I don't think that's enough. Um, if I had control over this company, I would ask Eric, "Hey, it's time for you to transition into a backstage role. What you've done for this company is not going to be ignored, but also you are not aiding the company going forward. We have to do something different." And if that wasn't enough, I'd be like, "All right, I will give you a release, and you can go and continue wrestling elsewhere." But I would be making massive changes to this roster. I would be putting money into the roster, and I wouldn't be rehashing NXT and WWE stuff constantly. So Eric Young would not make my list of television personalities if I was running things now. But also, I don't know how many people who would. That takes us to AJ Francis, another person I would not keep. He lost to Matt Hardy in a tables match. Jeff can't go to Canada. If you looked at the spoilers, if you watched Victory Road, you saw a lot of not Jeff Hardy. Jeff Hardy's not legally allowed in Canada.
yeah,
So, unfortunately, that meant that we had Matt Hardy doing a match with AJ Francis, and it was fine. Matt's knees are
yeah.
about as structurally sound as a 200-year-old wood bridge. So, you're going to get what you're going to get. Still thought it was fun.
Yeah, yeah. I was gonna say how good did he look to you outside of his knees? Because he looked like he slimmed down and
Oh, Matt looks. So, here's the thing
this
Matt's
thing,
51. He's been
yeah,
jumping through shit for 35 years, right? He looks
yeah,
great. He's in good
yeah,
shape. His knees are shot. Like this isn't me going, if he just lost the weight, he'd be fine. No, his knees are fucked. There's no repairing fucked. You might be able to get like stem cell, but even then,
Yeah,
you're only rehabbing so much back to life. Like you're not gonna. Matt Hardy's not running in the Boston Marathon, guys. His knees are
yeah,
fucked. So like whatever he can do is what he can do, and honestly, that's
yeah,
fine because his appeal is being with his brother. Like that's his hook,
yeah.
or when he's doing the broken gimmick. And I don't think physically he's
Hmm.
too far away from where he was. When he was 40. What the fuck what would that be like? 44, 45 when he invented the broken gimmick. I don't think he's that far off
Yeah,
physically from when he started the broken stuff. So like he could still transition back into that as a single star and be fine. But yeah, his knees are fucked.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, if we're being honest, that broken stuff may have actually saved him physically because it was more so character driven
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to the in ring stuff and all the running around with your little brother uh in your own yard shooting power with each other uh all the time. But yeah, he looked good. He like you said, off the Mac ain't go to Canada. AJ is still useful for these type of scenarios. But I think we had talked about last show about potentially putting Matt or splitting the two of them up should they drop these titles, which hope to God they don't. Certainly no damn NXT talent. Of them going and like Jeff Bolster in the doing something in the X division with Slater and Matt maybe doing some stuff around the international championship if they want to throw him as an added body in a multi-man scenario for the TNA World Title when it comes back to the brand.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so I think he looked good enough here, certainly for that.
Yeah, if you put Matt in a 10 or 12 minute match where you're able to limit what he has to do, he can still give you an entertaining match.
Yeah.
You know?
Hmm.
We got to the knockouts next. It's Kalani Jordan defeating Lee for the vacant title. The match was fine. I don't think Kalani Jordan's great. Unfortunately, that's kind of the issue. What we're seeing is we're seeing a lot of these former college athletes, former pro athletes who have come into the WWE get trained up and know how to wrestle, but not have the heart or the layered expectations that come with having 15 years on the indies. These NXT wrestlers don't have kind of that perception that you often need to do something in a match beyond looking good athletically. There are steps, there are factors that go into a match that sometimes get lost when you're just training them to do moves. One of the things that I would always say that, you look at like Bret Hart, some of the ways he would run the ropes, or like the way he would sell, or like even the way he would interact with the crowd. Some of that is just so nuanced that you have to learn it. And oftentimes these NXT talents don't have that nuanced angle for wrestling. So like you'll see them be like Soroka, very athletic, like Lola Vice, very athletic. Put on a very entertaining looking match, but oftentimes the matches don't have the heart or substance that you would want. One of the best matches that I ever saw Cody Rhodes wrestle was with Dustin Rhodes because there was a lot of that nuance. There was a lot of that situation where they were both, going deeper than just what they can do in the ring. There was the way they looked at each other, the way they fought each other. It just felt visceral. It didn't feel like it was a put together action sequence. It felt like a fight. And then at the end of it, when Cody's crying and he goes, I don't need a tag team partner, I need my brother, tears. I don't feel like the NXT talent that we're seeing come up through the system have that. They're all
Yeah.
basically just copy and pasted characters from one another anyway. I couldn't tell you the difference between what Trick Williams and what, fucking Ricky Starks and Ethan Page are doing from one another. They're all doing the same gimmick. I say sarcastic things and I'm better than you. Oh, okay, cool, 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 cool. I don't care. And unfortunately, I think with Kalani Jordan, this is another one of those instances where I don't care. Everyone on Twitter is like defending it because like, oh, Indy Hartwell's is going to win it back at Bound for Glory anyway. Well, one, that's not better. Indy Hartwell's
I
awful,
was about to say, stop insulting us.
right? I'd rather Kalani Jordan keep the belt. I've seen Indy Hartwell wrestle, and honest to God, I wish I hadn't.
Oh, God.
So at least Kalani Jordan can do things in the ring that Indy Hartwell
Oh,
can't. Now here's the problem: you didn't need to go back and basically show your ass as TNA like and bend and spread for NXT by having Kalani Jordan win. You could have said no, and you could have put the belt on Rosemary. Now you only got like 2 weeks, I think, to build for Bound for Glory at this point, and they've been building not Ricky, Trick and Santana. They've been building the Hardys and Team 3D.
yeah.
They've been doing some stuff for Bound for Glory that hey, we've been building for a little while, and that's fine. The problem comes with the NXT, or I'm sorry, the TNA Knockout Championship. Even before Ash by Elegance got hurt or retired or whatever it is that's going on, they haven't really been doing anything to set up Ash versus Indy. So like I don't know why shifting gears to Rosemary couldn't have been a possibility. Rosemary hasn't been champion in like 6, 7, 8 years or something like that. Have her win the
Yeah.
belt. Maybe she impresses. Maybe you then decide not to put the belt on Indy because Indy should not be your next big star. But they're going with the direction they're going, so like whatever.
Like, real quick with that decision, and I'm a fan of Kalani Jordan. I've seen her growth. But to your point, there's still a ways to go with that. But she's actually better than a lot of the women. She's actually stands out in that regard. Certainly for her in ring feats, which is only aided by her athletic background, which you also referenced.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm looking at this NXT segment we just watched. I'm like, this had to be one of them scenarios where they knew this was coming up, and somebody probably went, Kalani's just more appealing. And what is Xia Ling Lee's uh feeling on her English?
It's not great. Um, Lee Young Lee could very well be one of the better wrestlers TNA has. I don't think she
Yeah,
is, but like let's just say she was. She has no real English that I've heard. Zaya Brookside, who I've had my thoughts about her promo skills before, does most of the
yeah,
talking in that duo, and not great. Now maybe this is like a long
yeah.
con, like a long ploy, because Kalani Jordan is engaged to Carmelo Hayes. Maybe
Okay.
TNA knows Carmelo Hayes' contract is about to be up, and they're like, "Hey, we're gonna go and try to get
Yeah.
Carmelo Hayes." Hey, remember when we gave your wife the title? Hey, come sign with us.
Uh,
Now that would be a signing I could get behind. Carmelo's fantastic.
yeah, man.
All right,
Uh,
that takes us to Macklin versus Kazarian. Earlier in the night, Judas Macias, AAA star, former TNA star, showed up and stared down Macklin. So obviously they're doing. I would have to imagine a monster's ball with Judas Macias or El Macias and Macklin at Bound for Glory. That's the only thing that makes sense to me. Or they're going to do a triple threat with Frankie, Macias, and Kazarian. Um,
yeah.
this is the former Mil Mortis, by the way, Marcus, as you would remember him by. The former Mil Mortis
Mm,
came out, caused a distraction, which allowed Frankie Kazarian to win his first title that wasn't the NWA Tag Team titles, the TNA Tag Team titles, or the TNA X Division title. So
yeah,
congratulations to Frankie Kazarian. I think he's
yep,
47. We came to the conclusion of
yeah, man. Still
48.
looking
He's
damn
48.
good in there. They put on a hell of a match.
Yes, they did. I do think this is his world title essentially. So like, I don't think he's going to be getting anything else from his current run.
Mm,
Um, so this might be it. This might be his big win. But hey, you know what? They're trying to build the international championship. So if they do it right, this will be significant for his career. So
yeah,
congrats. This takes us to the main event, though, being Leon Slater versus Myron Reed. Everyone was over the moon with this match being the main event. I think they made the right call, even though I think Myron Reed and Leon Slater don't have the name value to headline on their own. They clearly didn't. Like this was very much not a card where they were put in the top spot heading into the show. It was Moose and Mustafa. It was Joe Hendry and Eric Young and Frankie and Macklin. Those were like the three big matches that they kept, hyping
Mm-hmm.
up. So it was a surprise main event. And I do think the show starting with Ash by Elegance basically, resigning as champion may have had something to do with the placement being moved to the main event, but I feel like it was the right call because they were phenomenal.
Yeah.
Myron Reed is every bit as good as any of the other three Rascals, be it Desmond
Mm-hmm.
Xavier, Zach Wentz, or Trey Miguel. And I've sung the praises of Leon Slater, since I first saw him. So like, I think all in total, this was a great main event. First time the X Division titles main evented in some time, and I think it was the right
Yeah.
call. It's pretty good. Any
Oh
final
man,
thoughts
this
on the main
this
event?
this match it made the entire show. Now we went over the match, previewed it last week, and we called it the matches that were probably going to be the best was the matches that they hyped, like you said, with Moose, Macklin, because they're in the list, and they all three of them delivered. But knowing the talent and their history, whether we were on characters or not, we knew their in ring ability. We knew how they could dance, and these two went out there and really shut stuff down. And I was thinking about it before we came on because I went back and looked at some highlights. I was like, some time ago, this would have kicked off the show, stole it early, and then we would have got disappointed in the main event.
Mm-hmm.
How interesting we've come to a point where the damn world title isn't even on the show. Um, Early match wise because it's on an the opposing team right now. But the X division, which has been a foundational pillar of the company, not only closes the show instead of opens it, but closes it and seals it.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's kudos to Myron and Leon, everything that you said 100%. They need to do something to lock Myron down, even with the Rascals, while also, keeping them in the mix. Leon only going to continue to get better. This kid is having a fantastic year. If he stays healthy, he is certainly going to be an absolute problem in the best way. And I'm looking forward to seeing what him and Javon do because I got a feeling they're very much looking to top what we got here, and not many people can.
So that actually takes us to the next piece of news. It came at the end of the event. Javon Evans will take on Leon Slater for the X Division title at Bound for Glory. I think Javon Evans has a very unique look. He's very svelte and he's nimble. What do you call? Oh, he bounces. Is that his whole shtick? Like Javion
Yeah, he
bounces
said,
Evans.
yeah, the boy about to get bouncy. How much? Speaking of that, real quick, just for you to kind of do a comparison and contrast, if you're real good at that. How much does he remind you of early Kofi?
A lot, a lot. Kobe was very bouncy when he had the knees for it. I think him being compared to an early Kofi makes a lot of sense because Kofi also has that odd body shape. He has that indent in his chest. Javion's got like
Yeah,
real tiny shoulders, and he has like that sharp V. So like there's a lot of
yeah.
physical similarities about it. I would say Javion seems to be more athletic than Kofi. His nimbleness
Hmm.
is spectacular. I remember when Ricochet was feuding with him on Twitter, and I'm like, this kid's never gonna be anything. Like he's getting dog walked by fucking Andrew knockoff Tate. Like what are we doing here?
Yeah.
But they have high hopes for him, and they're giving him a lot of opportunities, and I think he's succeeding.
Yeah. Hmm.
So while I do not like another NXT star in the middle of my TNA peanut butter, right?
Yeah.
This one might actually be a lot of fun. So I'm willing to let it play out and see what happens. But I just wish we were
Yeah.
done with this NXT bullshit because I'm so fed up. Like I don't want to watch NXT. I don't like NXT. Most of the NXT talent aren't talent. So like move on. But they keep
Yeah.
rehashing this.
Real,
So like I'm stuck watching it.
real quick, because obviously, as much as we wanted, they gonna do what they gonna do. Is there any part of your needle that can be moved if we finally see the door swing the other way and one of our talents wins one of their titles?
No, because they've already done so much damage to so many people. It's one thing to say like, hey, if you're going to be on NXT television, and you're going to face Obafemi, we're about to put the belt on him. You're going to lose him. Okay, cool. You do a 20-minute match with Hammerstone and Femi. Yeah, all right, cool. You do a 3.5-minute match with Obafemi and Hammerstone. No, fuck that. The Joe Hendry WrestleMania debacle. Like, there's so many bad moments that have just ruined this partnership. I know a lot. I know Moose even went on to say like, "Oh yeah, it's been better than the AEW one because we got so much back." And I'm just sitting there going, "What? AEW treated you like you were a competitor. You don't always win, but like you got to win a few matches. You had your guys on their show, but NXT has just won so much. Your top stars have either been signed by NXT and WWE, or they've lost belts to them and ruined their reputation, ruined their legacy. And what? Like, oh, the Hardys are going to beat Dark State? No, no, that doesn't make up for it. Because even if you thought it did, at the end of the day, WWE still made everyone make sure that TNA was only as relevant as their developmental brand. I don't know why anyone would sit and be like, "Oh yeah, this has benefited TNA." How? The NXT partnership's not the one moving the needles with the attendance. It's not. So like I'm confused with why people think this is a necessary partnership because I'm not seeing it. I'm not. We already talked about the TNA and
But
the NXT of it all. Any final comments on TNA or NXT markets before we move on?
yeah, I wasn't too hyped up for Victory Road, but once I sat down and looked at it, I was had a smile on my face. I'm looking forward to Bound for Glory, seeing what they do. And like you said, I just hope that they not still bent over and spread as wide as much from Bound for Glory, but they definitely bent over. So here's us, on the road to BFG, hoping for better days and maybe an update potentially on the damn TV situation too.
What's the difference between the calling, Dark State, the group Mustafa Ali ran? Because like I'm trying to figure out like what like are they literally just rehashing the same gimmicks? Because like I don't understand. Like what's the point?
Yeah,
What's the point of the
yeah.
calling?
Once again, apologies to Aces and Nates.
Right?
Um,
Yeah, honestly.
but yeah,
So you say you're more excited now for Bound for Glory. Here's the card as it stands. It's Slater versus Evans. The Inspiration versus the Elegance brand for the Knockout Tag titles. There's going to be a Call Yourself Gauntlet Battle Royal, which is a staple of the event now. The System versus Order 4 in a 10% intergender hardcore war. Lonnie Jordan versus Indy Hartwell for the Knockouts title. The Hardys versus Team 3D, currently set for the TNA World Tag Team titles. And Trick Williams versus Mike Santana for the TNA World titles. Right now, all we know is Lei Ying Lee will enter the gauntlet first, and Mance Warner will enter the gauntlet last. Do you feel like this is a better card than what we've been seeing over the last few weeks? Would you say that it's as good of a card as what we've seen in previous years? How are you feeling about the card as a whole?
weeks better. Yeah, years previously, no, like you said, it because it's still the previous years didn't have the NXT stink. Um, Covering over everything. Even when it wasn't good, it was still contained within itself, which is what we would really want to get back to. Even with our problems with the roster and what have you. But this is what it is. At least we know, I guess, going into this that it's mostly sold out at this point, if not outright. Do we know?
It's not sold out, and I doubt it's going to be. I think
Gotcha. So
Slammiversary did a lot of damage to their marketability. They had
yeah,
nearly 8,000 people. But I think let's see,
the main event.
the main event and the card as a whole. I think it did a lot of damage to people who want to watch this show. And I don't think people realize how bad it really is. I think people should be concerned with how they've been booked, how they've been ran through with this partnership, and the fact that so much of their talent now are just the parts of NXT we didn't like already now on TNA.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like,
Well, while the main is selling out to other countries and they feel like they're selling out to NXT. Know who's not selling out? Good old Major League.
Major League is selling out though. They sold out
Well, not
yet
yeah,
again.
that way, not that.
Yeah, yeah. They're,
Yeah.
they're selling out with tickets, and they're not selling out in other aspects. So, Major League had their Fury Road event this past Saturday. I thought it was a pretty damn good card, considering it wasn't meant to be some big thing. A lot of their matches did not go 10 minutes. Still trying to find this thing. Ticketmaster is now being a stupid douche. So, 1, 2, 3 matches didn't go 10 minutes. 3 matches went under 7 minutes. It wasn't the most exciting affair, unless you're a fan of MLW. I am. Atlantis Blue Panther and Diego Hill took on the Galleon Fantasma, Zendoken Jr., Barboza, and Defuento. Hell of an opener, considering Blue Panther is fucking what 65. Yeah, 65. He's the current MLW, what is it, openweight champion, national openweight champion. So like that's pretty cool. They got the win. I think it's Zandokin's also in the tournament for the Opera Cup. Someone had to get replaced. We'll update that here in a second. Paul London, the Paul London, took on Okamura in the opening round for the Opera Cup and got the win. He's going to go on and face the winner of the main event, which is Kushida and Austin Aries. Volador Jr. took on Teton again in the Opera Cup. That was a solid match. Volador Jr. has a real dope look. So does Teton, but y'all probably already knew that. Let's see. Here we go. Here's the brackets. Uh, Shotzi defeated Alejandra Quintela in what was basically just a glorified squash match, just to put over Shotzi. She's going to have a big involvement in their October show. She's going to be doing a talk show segment at Slaughterhouse. Satoshi Kojima defeated Mr. Thomas. I like Mr. Thomas. He was in Shikara for a little bit. I kind of hope that they bring back the Devastation Corporation. I think MLW could get a lot of gas out of that. And then Austin Aries defeated Kushida in what ended up being the main event of the night. Austin Aries looked fantastic, even though he's kind of a douchebag, and that's his current gimmick. His whole gimmick is yes, I'm a douchebag. So that's pretty
Yeah.
cool. Then technically the main event was supposed to be Bishop Dyer, aka Baron Corbin, taking on the new MLW World Champion Mads Kruger. That didn't end up happening. Dijak got involved, and Dyer and Dijak, known as the two tower, it was the skyscrapers, took down Mads Kruger in a big way, setting up this idea that it might be a handicap match for the MLW World Title at some point between the Skyscrapers, the current MLW Tag Team Champions, and Mads Kruger, the front and center of Contra Unit. I think altogether it was a solid show, but they're really building up for Slaughterhouse. That's where a lot of their energies are being pointed towards. Let's see. Here's the announcements. Who got replaced? All right, so Zandokin, he's been replaced, and Star Junior has taken his place in the Opera Cup. So as it stands, the Opera Cup saw us with Mystico to be here's the first round matchups. Mystico defeated Akira Kwan. Ultimo Guerrero defeated Esfinge. I think I pronounced that name wrong. Aries defeated Kushida. London defeated Okamura. Volador Jr. defeated Teton. Zendoken defeated Blue Panther Jr. Satoshi Kojima defeated Bobby Fish. And Bishop Dyer defeated Anthony Green. So here's the second round. I think all quarterfinals are going to be at Slaughterhouse. Mystico versus Ultimo Guerrero, which could be the main event. Aries and Paul London, a first ever matchup. They've never wrestled before. Volador and Star Jr., who's filling in for Zandokan. And then Kojima versus Baron Corbin, aka Bishop Dyer. So that's the next round. I'm excited about Slaughterhouse. Ultimo Guerrero and Mystico, that's going to be dope. I think Templario is going to defend his belt on the event. Um, what else is happening? I know Shotzi's going to be doing something. Let's see if there's anything announced for you beyond what we already know. Mercy, W. I don't know if Wrestle Tickets has any accurate information on Bound for Glory yet. Take a look here. It looks like we don't have anything really announced yet for Slaughterhouse 2025. So, Riddle and Hammerstone. That's going to be a major match for the event. So, I think Slaughterhouse could be event of the year for MLW.
Man, it sounds like it. Look, I never thought I'd be potentially excited for a card featuring Bishop Dyer,
Right.
uh, on known as Baron Corbin. But here it is, man. The MLW is another one of those places, much like TNA has been for a lot of people that you know is a place where you could put a new slap of paint on yourself, switch the perception up a little bit, and then have people see you in a new light. So I'm happy that it's going well for a lot of those guys. Not a big Riddle guy by any stretch of the imagination. I think him and Hammerstone could have a banger. Obviously, it seems that MLW once again been able to do with Hammerstone when he wasn't being able to be done right by TNA and any other place. So that's good. And you've been singing Mystico's praises all year. Somebody who's bounced back correctly. So that's good to see. Like MLW really, even with them having to shift a lot of things with their roster and kind of rebuilding that way, that they really kind of honed in and found themselves again, and it's paying off. Shout out to formerly Dario Cueto for giving them that pat on the back for all the hard work they done put in and benefiting from it. So,
So right now, Bound for Glory has 3,785 tickets. 2,928 have been bought and paid for. There is a remaining 857. So there's a good chance that of the tickets available, it does sell out. That being said, the venue itself only holds 7,558,000 people. So the fact that this isn't selling nearly as well as Slammiversary should be noted. Yes, they might technically sell out, but the amount of people they had at Slammiversary would essentially sell out the arena for Bound for Glory. So it does look like some of what
yeah,
happened at Bound for Glory has deterred people from showing up for Slammiversary. That's just the sad fact of the situation. You had
yeah,
7,024 people in a venue that I think was meant to hold 18,000. Let's see,
yeah, man. They
19,000.
had the ticket sale and the word of mouth momentum coming around the industry with that show, and they just
They screwed it.
basically screwed their own pooch.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
screwed it. Cheapest ticket available is currently $49.75. So it's not exactly the cheapest show. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. They might sell it out. It does look like they're gonna have a different entrance though for the events. It
that's
looks like
outrageous.
it looks like they're gonna be coming out of section 115 and coming down on an angle like you see for like the Royal Rumble. Not nearly as long, but
Mm.
it looks like it's going to have a different setup. So we'll see if that holds true for the event. With that being said, I think we're set for the night. Marks, is there anything else you want to touch on before we say goodnight?
All it for me now.
All right. So fun little factoid. Unless something changes, Swisher and I will be recording a episode of the Ohio Guys podcast and the Hallmarks this Friday. We'll see if
Hey,
that
man was a
happens.
switch man.
Yeah, yeah. A little bit of a flash from the past. If everything goes well, and he has the time, and I have the time, we may make this a reoccurring thing. Do it every other week on a Friday night. So we'll see. And of course, Marcus, we may invite you on if you enjoy yourself a little Hallmark movie action. So with that being said, though, Marcus, you're on Twitter, Paradox Kid, PARADOXKID.
That's me.
You can also catch him on his other podcast, The True Penny Show, TruePennyShow. Check them out there. Websites realnerdcorp.com, REALNERDCRP.com, twitch.tv/Wrestling Underground, YouTube.com/Wrestling Underground. You can find me on Twitter at Chad Nerdcorp, CHDNERDCRP, and on the Instagram at Chad's Photo at CHDSPHOTOHUT. I think that's everything. Marcus and I will be back next Tuesday. We're going to talk the fallout of Victory Road, the further building to Bound for Glory, and any other late breaking TNA stuff. We'll also be looking at some of the other things going on in the industry as well. Any updates on Masha? Also, by the by, apparently Frankie Kazarian is going to defend his international title against NWA World Heavyweight Champion Thom Latimer. But the funny thing is, Thom Latimer's not actually the champion anymore. I think Thrillbilly Silas Young or Silas Mason, whatever his name is, won the belt like a month ago. They just haven't gotten there yet in their TV taping, so Latimer's still the champion until it airs.
Well, it's long time TNA fans. We get it.
I mean, EC3 won the world title the night before Slammiversary, but then at
Mm.
Slammiversary wasn't champion. So like, yeah, this kind of shit happens. That being said, it may look like TNA and NWA may be moving forward in a working partnership. We'll see if that ends up being the case or if this is a one-off situation. But that's something we'll talk more about next week. For Marcus Green, I'm Chad Porto. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for checking us out. Thanks for giving us a chance. Remember, as always, to watch more wrestling. And we'll see you guys next week. Marcus, take us home.
Good night.